To those that have returned, thank you for coming on by. And those that are new, please consider hitting the subscribe button as well as that notification bell. Today we're going to take a look at the EK NVMe cooler. Should you actually use one? Why or why not? And why I'm using one for my Western Digital SN750 Black Gaming NVMe drive. So you have your fancy, nice NVMe cooler from, let's say, EK, like I have here. Now, the cooler itself shows to cool the whole NVMe. If you look into cooling of NVMe's and the different components and how they should be done, you'll see a lot of different aspects on how it should be done for long term, for short term, for the way the drive is being used, such as a lot of reads and writes and things like that. But for your normal usage, what you really don't need is to do anything really with it, unless you're doing a lot of heavy read and writes like I just mentioned. Then at that point, what the philosophies are, or that the data shows, are these right, the NADs, this one and this one, should actually run warm. And the warmer you run it, the longer they will last. Now, for your controller and your DRAM, you always want to keep those nice and cool. But like I was saying, unless you're doing any heavy work on these, you really don't need to worry about how it's being cooled. Now, with this particular setup that we're going to have, I would say I really don't need any cooling, such as this EK NVMe cooling kit. I did not realize this when I bought the kit. Now, what I was looking at and what I was just talking about was when I was doing my research, is that it said the controller as well as the DRAM are the ones that really need to be kept cool. Now, your NADs right here and here, that is, those actually perform better when they're warmer and will last longer. So what I did with this particular heatsink off camera was I took these and did a dry run like this. Here, let's just go like this. Put that on there, approximately right here. And I'll show you what happened, and you probably can see it already, especially if you do know this particular heatsink. And just put it together just like it's supposed to be. And then when you go to put your clips on, I'm not sure how this is going to turn out for you focus wise, but when you go to put your clips on, these are going to pull down really hard. And I hope you can see this, but it's bending the NVMe. If I put the pressure right on where those are at, you'll see that this left one is bending quite a bit, and the right one's not too bad, but I will repeat, I cannot put as much pressure as these clips do. Now, these clips right here are very tight, and the only way I really got this on the, well, all put together, let's just put it that way, was just to use the 0.5s on both sides, even though the instructions here say the 1mm and the 0.5 on the bottom using the clips. Now, that's how I'm going to put it together because of how this particular NVMe is going to be used. And I really don't have any choice with these clips because they are so so tight, and I don't want to warp or break my NVMe. So let's go ahead and do that. As you can see now, we don't have that bend in there, which will be a lot better for the NVMe. So let's put the clips on now. This actually is a really big gripe for this particular heatsink. EK is definitely making sure that it's on there good and tight. Now this one is probably going to be really, really tough. So So there you go. That is the EK heatsink with the cooling of both the 0.5 millimeter and the 1 millimeter. As I was saying before, if you're going to use a NVMe drive, I would definitely go with a different cooler if you're going to even use a cooler, and you're going to use it for a good amount of reading and writing, and that's continuous reading and writing. So let me be clear on that. That's really, really important there. That almost like NVMe storage hive or something like that, that you would actually need to just control, that would be where you would just have to, or should just cool the DRAM as well as the controller and not the NADs. So this right here pretty much is overkill for what it's needed for. Check out the links below if you're curious on what I'm talking about on the heat with the NADs versus the controller and the DRAM. So it's nothing really a ordinary user really should be concerning themselves about. The regular foil that goes onto your drive should be just fine, especially if it's a run-of-the-mill NVMe drive. Now your more high performance drives, you might want to get something like this to cool it, but I would actually suggest getting something where there's really no clips like this or anything like that that's going to potentially bend your NVMe. So for your ordinary use, just keep this one didn't have it on there because I took it off, but their NVMe's usually come with a foil or whatever you want to call that material that goes across the NADs, the DRAM, and controllers. So you can just keep that on and cool your NVMe in your machine that way. This one came out of another machine where I removed it because it already had its own cooling. So I actually wanted to make sure this was going to be cooled because this is actually a Western Digital SN750 black drive. So in other words, the gaming drive that Western Digital has. So I wanted to make sure that this thing was going to stay cool for the other machine that it was going into. So here we are. This is what I have to do in order to cool this drive. I did not check to see if this drive was going to overheat and slow down before I got the heatsink here. It is a Western Digital black, like I was saying earlier, and for that reason I went straight ahead and purchased this. Now, is it overkill? Very possible, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. And with that being said, tell me what you guys think down below in the comments, and hit that like button, hit the subscribe, as well as the notification bell. And this is Chris saying out.